just sit in this single chair here, I'm gonna go grab my supervisor real quick.
Oh, no, where's your files? This happened in October and. Yeah, that's fine. Just wait for a ride to come up here. However, I did mention that if this case goes to court, I have these files testifying. Cooperate with the state. Okay. Hey, you know he's young, so he has no clue. He's gonna get an education real quick.
I have my phone on.
You're fine, that's more for like when we do suspect interviews and stuff, so you're fine. Okay,
So I'm assuming that this is going to be recorded, right?
yes,
Okay, all right. So wait, does that mean I can record it too?
it's already recorded and you're welcome to get a copy of it.
Okay. But can I record it?
You can get a copy of our recording, it's fine.
So that was a yes, no.
No, you
I
have the ability.
I can't record this interview.
No.
But I can request it.
Yes, 100% you can request it all day long, we'll make a copy of it and
Okay,
stuff.
all right.
Yep.
Just wanted to be clear.
And a lot of times I do it so that if I have to go back, like as we talk about a lot of things, I'll go back and
You have
listen
to
to it.
review it, yeah.
To refresh my memory, because sometimes, I mean, I'm obviously not gonna remember every single word that you tell me, so.
And unfortunately, that's what Howie did when he was coming into the house, and he was
Right.
recording everything and.
Right, and he never provided anything to me, and he's under the impression that it's a one-party consent, and in the state of Florida, it's two-party consent,
Yeah.
so those are not even admissible in court, so.
So, yeah, because I'm still dealing with the legal issues, because again, he's suing my mother in civil court.
Okay.
And it's just recently, the lawyer that I had representing me, was like a Tampa lawyer, he had withdrew from representation.
Okay.
You know, for one reason or another, that's a whole different, rabbit hole. So I'm now without representation, and he's still suing my mother for coercion, when, like, it couldn't be more different, right?
Yeah.
Because he was, I'm gonna try to demonstrate that, and like, as I go forward, I'm just documenting every last little thing, because it sounds pretty stupid, like when I explain this entire situation to people, they give me, they roll their eyes, it's almost like something, like I'm lying, like it doesn't quite make, something doesn't quite add up. So, so these are, recorded, and there's some other stuff there.
Okay.
But those are some of the recordings, and I brought some other evidence for you guys. Now you guys are both gonna be actually investigating and actually seeing.
It depends upon what you tell me, because back when this all started, Howard was the one that was making allegations against you and everybody else. And there was nothing there, and I tried to explain that to him. And I think at the time you didn't want to provide documents, which you're right, but I tried to explain to Howard that without a surviving victim or somebody to come testify, the recording he had is not admissible, like he had no leg to stand on as far as like exploitation or anything. There was no financial records, there was nothing to show anything that he was alleging had occurred.
Yeah.
That's why there was no criminal investigation.
Okay. Yeah, because it came back now to, you know, when he opened the report, when he did the major crimes investigation alleging that my mom stole a bunch of stuff, in that process, he committed a bunch of crimes, right?
Okay.
And so that is what, you know, and don't go by, you know, don't hang on every word there. That's just like a guide that I sort of threw together just from my, you know, less than paralegal,
What's the,
legal knowledge. Oh, that's the court case, the civil court case against my dead mother.
So it's going against her estate, really?
It's really kind of confusing because grandma died late November of 2022.
Okay,
Mom died January 29th of 2023.
okay.
So there was like a couple months where mom was alive, you know, and then she had died.
Okay.
So and so I provided a timeline also because that kind of it demonstrates exactly the precipitation that led up to all of these events, right? And so again, I've been deposed. I had the depositions, all the financial the financial advisor was deposed, the lawyers were deposed. All that stuff is at the courthouse,
Okay.
right? And
So it's civil court though?
civil court, and a lot of the information got flushed out. And Howard also got deposed, again, admitting, you know, acknowledging that she had dementia. Her whole interaction with her, you know, she was gone, but like delusional.
Mhm.
And so he admitted that, you know, as he should. And then, you know, so like this was one of the admittance forms for the, like the assisted living facility, where even in that very short time that she had like to sit down with just the assisted living facility, that we needed to park grandma in because mom was having like, you know, the strokes and the heart attacks and stuff. And they had noted that she was having hallucinations. And so right there on the spot, she's just going off the deep end. And so it's obvious that she was delusional and compromised, and yet Howard is coming into the home, extracting her out and taking her to Bank of America to make changes. You know, taking her to Bound Financial, the financial advisor, to make alterations and changes. And like that's way out of bounds. It's way not allowed. And it's like, well, when I came here initially, like there's nothing that you guys can really do, you know, because unless she's like, I don't know, in a facility where there's more control over her, you can't
And, yeah,
extract her.
where
and
she's
do that.
visible, easier visible to people to see what's going on.
And part of the problem was that with the delusion stuff, you know, you can start a sentence and it sounds like grandma is just, you know, she's just talking. And then the problem is you can't string two sentences together, and then, you know, by the time you get to the second sentence, it starts going really, really out there. So it's obvious to anybody who had interactions with her, like including the bank teller.
So you're I just wanna make sure I'm understanding you, and I'll let you keep talking, I just wanna make sure I'm on the same page as you. So you're saying that crimes were committed prior to her death with Howard?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
and in fact, and it was so much stuff that I had to make a list.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and I'm, again, at the same time, you know, 'cause this is all a new process for me.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like documenting things as I go along. And so I'm trying to provide as much as I could. I hastily prepared all this stuff, you know, and that's another thing, I do commend you, you know, specifically for taking the time, because there was a point in time where like I tried getting help, like especially like from other lawyers that are local here to Spring Hill.
Yeah, I remember that.
And as soon as like I mentioned that, like with Hegensbach, for instance, I mentioned about the law enforcement affiliation, and that apparently spooked another person. So they're in the, me and Mr. Heggensbach sat down, we told him the situation, we agreed on a price, shook hands, he went out of the room to print off the paperwork for us to sign to become a client, and then he comes in and he says, after conferring with another attorney, we're actually not going to be representing you. And I had to pick his brain to say, like, you know, why? You know, we just agreed on representation, and he said basically, well, given that Howard's, you know, law enforcement and that he's coming in and he's doing stuff, it's obvious that mom did something wrong, and we're just not gonna be any part of that.
Well, and I'm not
so-
wondering if Howard conferred with Hedgensbach before you did.
I don't think so.
Okay, because if he
But-
did, I can see where they would say that there's a conflict because he's already come in seeking legal counsel. I don't know. I'm just saying that could be a possibility.
Yeah, it was because the lawyer I was talking to conferred with another lawyer, and they said, listen, it starts getting into law enforcement, and they immediately backed off after we had made an agreement. And it's just like, that was the first red flag that I had, and then that process, all of the lawyers that do probate and probate litigation stuff in Spring Hill, same reaction. Nobody wants to touch me. You know, as soon as I mention about the law enforcement stuff, they just don't want to be a part of it. They're just choosing not to. And so just recently, you know, because Mr. Lynn's out of Tampa, you know, he withdrew, and now I have to go to Miami for representation. There's a guy in Crystal River I'm trying to get, because he's like the next closest person to represent me, and it's just getting ridiculous, you know, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like this was the first guy I talked to, and he had made suggestions at that time period about just going directly to the FDLE and to the FBI, because I did not have any traction at all getting any sort of help, because again, Howard was just coming in, and
Yeah, I remember you said he was badging his way in.
and he fabricated this, you know, after somebody talked to him about badging his way in, he just generated that. And again, grandma can't stick two sentences together, let alone tell you who the president is, you know, and we're trying to figure out how he keeps coming in.
Yeah.
And so again, she's already clearly delusional. Like it's not even in question. And yeah, and it's pretty insane. And so again, I don't know if I had time to flesh this out the first time, but it's like I made like you had put down in the report that I was making allegations that he was trying to kill my mom. Well, that's kind of the case. With my mom dead, he's the only other surviving heir, right? And so he had a information backing, right? He didn't know what the trust looked like. He was hearing second and third hand information through his kids, his ex-wife, and all this stuff about, oh yeah, you were written out of the trust. But he didn't actually know that. He didn't actually see that, and hence that's what happened with Smith. You know, that I get a visit from Mr. Smith, and so that whole thing is really kind of what's driving me here. Is just get some sort of explanation behind the genesis of why a man with a gun came down and shook me down for trust documents. You know, and by the time I actually like translate like get the transcripts, like the words on paper, it sounds pretty bad. Like it looks really bad, and like that's not my intention to go after him. If he was just a wheel in the cog and just, you know, doing his job, that's one thing. But like if he like conspired with Howard to come to my house to shake me down for grandma's documents, that's no bueno. Like that, you can't do that. And so it's like these multiple crimes that keep happening, keep piling up, and I realize that it's happening. I know what's going on, and yet there's nobody to help me, right? And so I hate playing the victim card. I hate, you know, woe is me sort of thing. But holy shit, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? You know, I'm fighting against the system, and the system is coming down on me, and my mom's dying, right? My dad just died in 2019. That's the whole reason my mom's even down here. And so grandpa dying, and then, you know, grandma dying, and then my mom dying, all in the same time. I haven't had time to grieve for anybody, because I'm being fucking sued.
Yeah.
Right? there's cops showing up at my door, you know, and it's just, holy hell, and there's nobody to help me. And it's just, Howard rolls around like his shit doesn't stink, because it doesn't. You can't get in trouble for anything, right? And that's why I'm here. And I thank you guys for sitting here listening to me.
Well, we still be in law enforcement, and we still uphold to the same standards and have to follow the rules, and we violate laws and commit crimes, we're gonna get prosecuted for them too, so it doesn't hold us any higher standards.
And that's what, you know, during this whole process, I was forced to go to like some of these wacky, like First Amendment auditors and the, what do they call them? Sovereign citizens, like that whole, like, you know, that whole like, group of people that like really test the boundaries of what, you know, the law says. And like, I'm forced to like reach out to those sorts of groups and those sorts of people for help. Like, just
Our
for,
citizens don't follow the Constitution or the law, they think that they're held to a different standard.
it gets out there, you know, and this is a whole education for me, that world even exists. And so, you know, I don't have any other, especially at the time, I didn't have any other place to reach out other than to just continue gathering as much of this evidence as I could and just documenting it. And you know, like in the whole process of him suing my mother, you know, like he's just trying to put as much pressure as possible on her, because he knows that she's in a weakened state. And like even his lawyer, you know, when Grandma died, you know, they're sending.
And Grandma's
And that's Harriet.
Harriet. Yep.
Eileen's your mom.
Correct.
And you said she passed?
Yeah, she's deceased.
I'm just making sure, because there's a lot of names, and like I said, this was back in 2022. So
And
it's-
you're the son to Eileen,
Yeah.
and Eileen's the daughter to Harriet.
Correct.
And Howard is,
brother to
To Eileen.
Eileen, okay.
Yep, and son of Harriet.
Okay.
And so this is another thing that really irked me, and again, this is like October 28th. So that was, you know, right before, essentially, right around the time of my grandma's passing. But like even like the second page, that's just a legal letter that the lawyer sent to my mom to say, hey, you need to put the trust forward, because again, Howard's goal was to see what the trust looked like, and make whatever changes he could, knowing that grandma was in a weakened state, and knowing that he was omitted, that he was struck. He doesn't know what it actually says, and he was desperate to get at that information.
Right.
And so you know, his lawyer sent my mom that letter, which is basically just says, you know, hey dumbass, you need to get her will, or I don't even know what it was.
Like turn it over?
Yeah, to the courthouse, and that's all it is. It's like a friendly reminder, but strong words. And then the next page 2, says that, oh yeah, by the way, we CC'd Gerald Bound, who's the financial advisor who provided the financial the annuity products that help them, you know, through their retirement. Is that we CC'd Mr. Bound, and he's aware of everything that's going on, because again, in Howard's head, they're convinced that my mom stole, you know, what is it?
$1 million.
$1 to $3 million of art and jewelry. And in the meantime, the motherfucker is going into grandma's safe, and he's recording it, and he's saying, you know, and he's trying to guess the number to the safe. And you have delusional grandma saying, oh yeah, and here's my safe, it's right here. And oh yeah, just take whatever's in it. You know, if you're dealing with somebody who's delusional and who's hallucinating, and they say, here's my safe, take everything that's in it, go ahead and clean me out. You know, it doesn't take somebody with very good judgment to say, man, maybe that's not such a bright idea.
Right.
Right. And again, he's doing that in his uniform with the badge. He only got there because of that. And it's just like, what am I supposed to do to stop that? And like, I live in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You know, and just by the grace of God, I happened to be here when Mr. Smith showed up. you know, and I was talking with this with my sister, it's like, you know, if I was home and my mom was actually in the house and she answered the door, you know, when a deputy comes, you know, in his badge with the gun and says, I need to see your mother's trust documents just to see whether or not you committed a crime or not. You know, that's scary to somebody who doesn't deal with law enforcement. You know, she would have flipped that stuff over and gave it to him.
Mhm.
You know, that's and I know that she's vulnerable, and that was the spaghetti you threw on the wall. You know, because again, we have been dealing with Howard for a very long time. You know, this is nothing new. This is par for the course, and including one of the recordings that I have that was done, that was kosher, which was a discussion between me, my mom, and Grandma when Grandpa was still alive, but he was in a hospice, and we were discussing exactly what Grandma wanted, with her words, back when she was completely 100% with it. She was finally coming to realization that Grandpa was going to die, and that all the changes that she's talked about making and wanted to make but couldn't do it, you know, because COVID, the world was shutting down. You know, they never really actually went to the lawyers to make the changes. Everything that, you know, things became much more serious, and then we said, okay, let's go ahead and make the changes that we want to make. We had a very long conversation about all that sort of discussion. None of it was recorded, right? And I said, okay, we're at the very end of it, and I said, you know what, let's summarize and recap exactly what we want. And then that's when I put this, I said, let's go ahead and record this for the record, exactly for this present situation that we're in, so that it can't be disproved, that Grandma's words. And so I actually have that it's a 20-minute conversation, and all it does is just reinforce all of the documents that were done by the lawyers, what the trust looks like right now. It just reinforces that, you know, but it's just Grandma's words. And so I do have that, just in case there's any ambiguity, and that was supposed to get flushed out like in civil court. It's like I don't have a choice but to respond. But in reality, now that Mom's dead, I'm not necessarily a willing defendant. I don't want to be a defendant in civil law. And so even my own lawyer down there, you know, kind of sort of lied to me. You know, didn't exactly tell me the whole truth, but that's again, that's a little tangent. And so even this, like this is when Howard had went to his lawyer had, you know, advised him, you know, you at least have to make an attempt to communicate with, and that's a text message, by the way.
Okay.
That I didn't even know existed. You have to at least show that you made an attempt, or pretend that you made an attempt to retrieve documents that he had no business, you know, even coming close to knowing. And so that, I suspect, was in response to the lawyer saying, hey, just go ahead and put it on paper so that, you know, you can show you tried, instead of just showing up and, you know, doing the whole Smith thing, and, you know, so yeah, I mean, like, and like, this is the current state of the civil law, where they're just doing the interrogatories. They want every last little detail of, you know, the financial stuff, and it's just like, this is way off limits. This is way out of line. You know, it couldn't be more, the legal documentation for the like the will and the trust, it couldn't be any more concrete than what it is.
Yeah.
Who's Alyssa? Sorry.
That's my sister.
And you said she's living in the house now?
No, so she actually lives in California,
Okay.
owns a home in Alabama, and she's kind of everywhere in between. She's an engineer for oil company.
Okay.
So she bounces around all over the place.
Okay.
So she's working from home, but she happens to be here because we happened to find a coinciding week that was available for both of us.
So there's nobody staying in the house then when you guys aren't here? Okay. And I mean, I guess you can't sell it right now because of all this other stuff that's going on.
Everything's tied up. The poor Subaru, the cherry 2018 Subaru, it's tied up. I can't do anything with it.
Okay.
And
So you
it's
go
been
through
flooding.
all this, okay.
And this has been going on for the last, you know, year and a half, and it's just like, you know, I'm learning a lot about the legal system, you know,
Yeah.
it's a game to drain as much money from the trust as possible.
Yeah.
And just keep it going as long, and just cause as much stress and pressure as possible, you know, because because they know now what the trust looks like, and they know that he was omitted. And so the point is like the mediation, and trying to get the mediation so that we cough up money.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's the goal, that's the point, it's not actually to get
Run
to
it out
trial.
in court, yeah.
And it's just, I'm learning all this.
Do you need for me to take the documents off of here and give this back to you?
So that's the audio recordings and, yeah, I mean, if I could get that.
Yeah,
it's,
because
you know.
this is what I was gonna do, and then I'm gonna take photocopies of this stuff to hand back to you. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I'm gonna go do this real quick, and I'll bring that back to
If
you.
you wanna do that, I'll make the copies of these.
Okay, alright, let us run out and do this real quick, because I wanna make sure I get this stuff from you.
I'll be right back, I'll make the copies while she copies that off of
Okay.
later, so we have it, so you can have it. So you probably wanna keep these for your records, so.
Yeah, I don't wanna take the papers. It was just the 3 recordings on here, correct? That's all I saw.
I think so, I.
Okay, I just wanna make sure, that's all I saw,
A week
so-
ago or so.
Alright, she'll be back in a second. Alright.
And so like, yeah, like I've been, you know, cause again, like it might sound silly to you and to most people, but knowing Howard and understanding Howard, I wouldn't be surprised if I end up dead, right?
Mhm.
Because some of the stuff that he used to do back in New Jersey and he used to brag about, that's well in every, like the family and the family's friends is well aware of all that, and it's
Mhm.
just like, well, why didn't they get depositions? You know, like for just character whips, and it's just, you know, as long as he has the badge, he has that layer of protection. And like so I've been putting as much information on YouTube in terms of like just documenting it, just as much stuff as I can.
Mhm.
And it's just like this is his girlfriend or his wife at that time, and I don't even remember, I don't even know if she knew that I was there, but she was bagging stuff up and removing stuff from grandma's room, and it's just like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, I don't know for sure, but I flew down and I was in my room and I was alone mom was at a rehab facility. I was in my room doing probably on my computer, and like comes in, talks with grandma, and I say, what the fuck, and I kind of hide around corners. I'm like, holy shit, she's actually doing this. And then yeah, she goes in and talks to grandma in her room for a long time, and then
Leaves with something.
she does that, and me and my sister to this day, we are still trying to figure out exactly what was taken, because it's so hard to pin down. So unless we can get the receipts for like all the jewelry and the coins and all that stuff, we don't know what's missing,
Right.
and we can only speculate. But she's carrying a bag full of stuff, and it's heavy, like she's carrying it on her hip, and she thinks that she's home alone with grandma and extracting property, and so it's the same thing. Knowing that grandma is delusional, do you think it's wise to be taking anything?
Right.
Even if she's giving you permission, even if she says, yeah, go ahead and take all this jewelry.
Yeah.
You have to have the good sense to say, I shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
And so it's not just Howard, but it's Howard and I think it's the wife or girlfriend. I really don't know. And so that's and just taking
Whatever she wants.
just she didn't know I was there in the house, because I fly in and get an Uber, so there's no evidence that I'm actually there, and she didn't
Yeah.
have any reason to know I was there. And yeah, so all of this, and it's worth mentioning, like all of this, I had relayed to my lawyer, and including like the evidence with the discussion with me, grandma, and mom about what they want the trust to look like. Because remember, there was a plan where mom was supposed to live for another 15, 20 years, not 2 months, right?
Yeah.
That was never the factor,
Right.
planned.
Assuming she'd be around for a while.
And the whole point of the changes that were made was so that mom could be the matriarch of the family and do the things that grandma kind of wanted to do, but just couldn't. And she wanted to provide for mom because she was there, she showed up, and all that gets fleshed out in that recording, right? And so even though I provided it like in 2 separate emails, I never got any response that my lawyer even received it, and then once pressed in person with it, because if you play that 20-minute video, it will quash the legal case that I'm dealing with. Like it just, because again, all it does is just reinforce all the documentation. It's just grandma's verbal, just putting it out there. And so instead of providing that as a rebuttal to opposing counsel and to Howard, he just shit-canned it. He just put it to the side, because if he does that, the money stops flowing, right? And so I don't know, the right word would be like constipated. It's like I need to have this get put out there. I provided it to Mr. Lynn, so like you need to put the, and it's like no, we're once he did actually acknowledge that he had it, he said no, we're gonna wait until the last minute, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit him over the head with it at the last minute, just before mediation. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is the first fucking thing that you should have done, was given this, grandma's spoken word to that side of the family, so that they can hear it for themselves.
Yeah.
Not going through this entire process, and it's just, it's doing exactly what it was designed to do, is to wear people down, drain that bank account. It's an entire industry. It's an entire business. This probate litigation. I mean, it's crazy. And
Well, lawyers want to make money, and divorce attorneys are the same way. It's just a fact of how they are, and I'm not going to say all of them, but it's not right.
And I don't want to fight against the system.
Yeah. Well,
I have
and
opinions,
this is what I'm going to explain to you. So our state attorney's office, in order to file criminal charges, needs a live victim. And unfortunately, your mother's passed. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all the stuff that you gave me, I will speak with our state attorney's office, because for them to file charges on something that has kind of come and gone is extremely difficult, and that's just my experience with them. But, like I said, I will definitely review everything. Do you have any financial documents that show that Howard was going and getting money, or do you have access to any of that stuff?
Getting money or attempting to get money? Because
I thought you said he actually went to the bank with her and got money. Or
Oh,
did
yeah,
he-
well, yeah, he extracted her from the house.
Oh,
took her to-
from the house.
Took her to Bank of America and took her to Gerald Baum to make changes to add himself back on. Like, he actually went through that entire process to
To add
do
this,
that.
okay.
And it's the same thing with the safe. You know, he made the attempt to get into the safe
Yeah,
and he couldn't. And so, so no, like, there's not gonna be any financial
okay.
record.
I know they're gonna ask me that, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the intent was there, right?
Right.
Like he went through all those motions and not just talk about it, not just, you know,
Right.
conspire to do it, but actually he went and did it.
Mm-hmm.
Unsuccessfully, but he did it. And that's, how could you be so stupid?
Yeah,
No, we see it a lot throughout our
yeah,
careers.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when there's wills, money, estates, people pass, it brings out the ugly in people. It really does. I mean, this is not, I've had several cases like this. I've had people fighting over people's assets before they pass, you know, it's unfortunate. And, you know, I'm sorry that you're having to go through all this and that they're putting you through this. But like I said, I know our state attorney's office, and without a living victim or documents, that kind of thing, it's gonna be very difficult. But I'm still gonna look at everything, and I will still have a conversation with them, to see if this is something that they would move forward on.
Yeah, and so, and.
I mean, that's the best I can do for you.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
'cause-
tell you I can do something when I don't think that I can.
Yeah, and you know, because there's very good, you know, after conferring with you know, the amateur lawyers and actual lawyers, there is a reasonable, enough evidence to actually go after him for wrongful death. And you know, for actually applying that pressure and doing exactly what he did with the motive and all that kind of stuff. Like, I could have my own civil case against it, and that's not, I don't want to do that. That's not in my best interest, that doesn't benefit me in any way, right? And so I prefer not to go that route, but, and this, you know, if he broke the law, you know, he broke the law, and he has to face charges, and if he doesn't, the problem is then it becomes the public relations thing. If I don't get satisfaction from what's going on here, it becomes a circus, right? And because I'll be out of moves, you know, because if the FDLE or the state attorney doesn't actually pursue this and doesn't actually address what happened here, I have to take it to the court of public opinion, you know, and get a newspaper article written about it. And, you know, and actually, and the journalists, I'm already in those circles, so I can have all of this, I can get a magnifying glass onto all of what I have prepared here and all the YouTube videos and stuff, and it'll look really dumb, right? But then that's not what grandma wants, that's not what mom wants, right? That's not what Howie wants, that's not what I want, but that would be the only other reasonable thing that I would do, and I just, I'm out of options, you know. So, so if it does go that way, then maybe the FDLE will look into this and actually do something.
Have you spoken with anybody from FDLE?
I've called and left a message, and nobody's given me a call back. But
I mean, you're welcome to call whoever you want. All I can do is look at what you've given me and present it to the state attorney's office. They're the ones that have to make the determination if they feel that there's enough to move forward with criminal charges. I mean, I can say that there is, but if I go up there and if they feel that there's enough to move forward, then we will. If they feel like this is not something they're gonna file on, it's ultimately our state attorney's office decision.
yeah, and
So that's the best thing that I can do is try to put together what you brought me, and if I need something else, then, you know, I can be in touch with you and I'll see if you can get a hold of whatever it is that we need.
And part of the problem is that, you know, because he has the badge, and, you know,
Well, that,
you
the
think that
badge
they're
means
gonna-
nothing to me. Just so you understand
Well,
that.
yeah,
I don't know
but-
who he is. His badge means nothing to me. He wasn't happy with me with what I had to tell him on the phone, and I don't really care because my job is my job, my reputation's my reputation, and I'm not gonna get in trouble for anybody. Just so you understand that. He can tell me
Sure.
whatever it is he wants. If he has no proof of anything, it doesn't mean anything to me. Okay?
What he works and what he does doesn't change how we do our investigation.
Yes.
We do them the same
I
across
want
the
you
board.
to make
and
sure
it's
you
not gonna
fully understand
change.
that.
Well, that makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
It means nothing to me.
But yeah, the same, everything has to apply equally to anybody. And it's just, it kind of scares me when you say stuff like that, you know, it's on somebody else to actually press charges or
Well,
or
we do
investigate.
our investigation, and if we can determine probable causes there, and go forward with the arrest, but at the end of all our investigations, the state attorney is the one that proceeds with the charges, proceeds with the criminal side of it. So
Sure.
if they get the case and they're not gonna go any further, they either, that's what she'll discuss with them, they usually will drop the case right then. So at the end of the day, it's up to them, they take it through the courts, we only go up to this one step. We do our whole investigation, we put everything together, but when we have everything, it's up to them to, if they wanna pursue it.
Like, we could make an arrest on a case, if it goes up to them, and for whatever reason they deem that they're not moving forward with it, they drop it. It has nothing to do with,
So is that
my deciding factor.
Tallahassee, or
no,
is that?
that's our local state attorney's office here in Brooksville.
Okay. All right, so would it be wise for me to get a correspondence with them,
What do you mean, meet with them, or?
just to confer?
Well, we could put everything together and we'll present it, and then depending on the outcome, I mean, that's up to you if you wish to speak with them and.
Usually when they review cases, they'll call the victim or whoever and explain why they're not gonna file. And, you know, you'll have your opportunity if that's what they decide, cause I don't know what they're gonna decide, you'll have an opportunity to speak with them.
Yeah, okay, so
I
I
mean,
don't know.
that's the best that I can do for you right now. That's really where I'm at, is look at everything and listen to everything that you've given me. You know, I'll type up another report to add on to the one that you filed, or that was filed back in 2022. You know, and we'll take the whole thing up to them and let them look at it.
Okay, yeah, cause if nothing, if this is just if this ends up being a swing and a miss here, then I almost have to bring it to the public, make a circus out of this. And I
You do
don't
whatever you,
want to,
I
because
know,
that,
you do
again,
what
that
you
doesn't
feel you
help.
need to do. I mean, I can't change the outcome of anything, you know, I have what I have and that's it.
Right, well,
Yeah.
I highly respect that,
Yeah.
and, you know, doing whatever.
You have, it's a fair shot. I told you I'll look at it, whatever's here, I'll present it. I mean, that's really what I can do. I mean, unfortunately, you're gonna have to keep moving forward with the civil side of it. You know, there's no option, and, you know, that's not any doing on our part, that's, you know, it's Howard.
Yeah, cause at the end of the day, you know, the only things that he has, you know, to support the allegations
Mhm.
is the recordings,
Right.
right? And so if these were obtained unlawfully, which it certainly seems as though they were, that has to get dismissed from even the civil, like the civil case.
Mhm.
Like it doesn't quite, I mean, my understanding is that that's not admissible.
No, in the state of Florida, it's two-party consent for a recording, unless somebody's working on behalf of us, like if I had you call Howard, part of the investigation to talk to him, lawfully, we're allowed to record it without his knowledge. But if you and I were just wherever, you know, it requires two-party consent.
And I guess it's worth noting that, you know, both me and my mom were recorded on one of these recordings. So technically, I am a victim of this crime here. And so again, like I'm dealing with this lawsuit.
That's not gonna change your civil trial case, I can tell you that right now. It might make that get thrown out, but you're still gonna end up going through the civil thing. They're fighting the will, the probate, the everything. You're not gonna get out of that.
The coercion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that my mom coerced
Yeah.
my grandma to make changes, which is absolutely ridiculous. Especially if you look at the timeline and understand the timeline, and then a few of the YouTube videos, it's just more and more, and I didn't bring, you know, all the documents that I had. I didn't quite frankly, I didn't think I'd get this far. I didn't think I'd get this deep into all this stuff, or else I would have brought more stuff. But I can, and again, the process with the civil side of things, the fact that it even exists pisses me off. That, you know, that gets, you know, all the evidence gets turned up and provided and say, hey, you're alleging this, but actually it's this. I never had the actually it's this opportunity, right? So far, this right here, this conversation that we're having in this room is the closest that I've gotten yet. You know, and it's been, how long? A year and a half since I dealt with this.
Yeah.
And so I, you know, so again, I'm in the psychological pressure cooker with all of this, and this is just the shit that's going on down here.
Yeah.
Let alone all the stuff that I have to deal with up north.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's pretty stressful. I mean, blah blah blah. You know.
Yeah.
But yes, I do appreciate everything you guys are doing, and again, I commend the both of you for, you know, doing this investigation, because again, at first it seemed like the system was just sweeping it under the rug, like it just, when dealing with Howie and dealing with the badge, they just didn't want to.
Well, and I told you though that if you have an issue with him asserting his authority, to call Pinellas County and make a complaint with his internal affairs unit.
Yeah, and
You didn't really want to do that back then.
so what I did do is I went, I tried to not commit to a complaint, because it's the same thing with Mr. Lentz. Like, I called the bar hotline, you know, to get some sort of help with my own lawyer, who I feel is not accurately representing me correctly. And they said, well, do you want to make a complaint against him? Well, he's the person who's supposed to be representing me. It's not in my interest to make a complaint
Right.
against him while he's my only help. And so it's a very similar thing, you know. Do I go I'm just trying to keep my mother alive and trying to stop him from coming in. And you know, when I call Hernando County, there's nothing that you guys can really do to stop him from coming in when he's manufacturing his own passes and badging himself through. There's nothing I can do to stop him. You know, we can trespass him, but again, I have to be there right at that right time that he comes in. And you know, it happened once already, I guess. But so going down to Pinellas County, I actually went down there and spoke with the supervisor. And so what I did was I gave them the there was like pocket badges that said it was like a little badge about that big that says mom, and another one that says dad. And so I turned those back in to them. At the same time, I had a conversation with one of the supervisors to make them aware of what was going on, and I explained to them, I'm here with a fire extinguisher, not with a can of gas and matches. You know, I'm trying to pacify things, because again, and I tried to explain to because I had an interview like this down there in Pinellas County, and you know, trying to explain to them, this is literally like a life and death situation. You know, it's not a joke. My mom's dying, and I want to keep her alive, and I'm here because I want to keep her alive. And so I had this interaction with I forget their names, but it wasn't like a formal complaint, because again, I didn't want to antagonize Howard, you know, because if he gets like a professional complaint, all in the meantime that he's doing this, he's already under pressure. He's already making bad decisions mentally, and again, if I add additional pressure onto that from the professional side of things, I'm afraid that the pressure cooker is going to burst, and that there will be an outburst, and he's going to actually get violent again. And so I'm trying to avoid the violence, and so that's really the reason I didn't.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But I was able to accomplish both tasks by trying to pacify everything. You know, so I don't know if there's statutes, you know, for timing, but if it's appropriate, should I go down there and make a complaint even now?
That's a decision that you gotta make on like what you feel.
You know,
I can't tell you to go make a complaint or not, but if you feel that there's a complaint and you need to make it, then that's gonna be your call.
You know, but you also gotta think of, and again, I'm not telling you what to do, but, you know, there's nobody in the house, he's not really going in and out of there as far as you know. So now you're amidst, you know, the civil side of it. If you go make a complaint now, is it just gonna look like you're trying to get even because of the civil suit? Is it gonna stir the pot and just make things worse? That's something that you have to kind of weigh out your options.
Yeah, cause I
You know.
guess I'm more concerned about the crimes that were committed.
Yeah.
And so I just wanna make sure that, cause yeah, I'm not doing the petty thing, I really don't wanna do the tit for tat shit,
Yeah.
I get nothing out of it, and you just gotta use logic. What do I get? I'm not a petty person, I could give a shit less. I'm just trying to have this stuff just, from the very onset, nobody benefits from any of this, and so,
Everyone gets stressed and nobody benefits
And like I said, when
So-
there's money and death and wills, it just brings out the ugly in people, unfortunately.
so yeah, I mean, I guess
Well, let me
suspect
look
that
at it
that's-
and see what I can do, and I think I still have your phone number. Just give me your number one more time, just wanna make sure I have it.
570
570
974 7378.
Alright, I didn't know if your phone number changed or anything, but at least I'll have it, so. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll look at it and, I'll sit down with our state attorney's office and we'll see what they think. Cause like I said, usually they want a surviving victim, or somebody to testify, which I know you said your mom wasn't in her right frame of mind, so, I mean, I can just, like I said, present everything to them and
Yeah.
see what they say.
Because it's more about, at this point, it's more about the conduct. While wearing the badge, abusing the county resources, and that's another thing, I did want to get some information on the whole Smith interaction. What exactly, how exactly did that come about?
Well, I mean, it's in the report. I mean, Howard called to make allegations, and the deputy went out, because if he calls to make allegations, of exploitation or whatever the allegations were at the time, the deputy has to go out there. They have to make contact with the person, because obviously, if she's a victim of something, you need to talk to your victim to find out what's going on from them. I mean, if you didn't like the way he handled it, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
No, not specifically, like him talking with me, it's just the genesis of all this, because it seemed like you had an interaction with, you had questioned Officer Smith.
Yeah,
Right.
because you told me that you recorded him and that he was well aware of it. I called him to find out if he was aware of it. Obviously, I'm gonna do my job and double check, because, people don't always tell me the truth. You know what I'm saying? Not that I thought you were necessarily lying, but I'm still gonna double check, and he said he was aware that you were recording. And so I did call him to find out what happened, because I know you said you weren't very happy with the interaction that you had with him.
Yeah, because I didn't even think that it was legit at first.
Right.
Because when you're asking to see grandma's trust documents to determine whether or not a crime had occurred, that it just doesn't make sense.
Well, that's just
That
the
it
deputy
be-
following up.
Yeah, and
Maybe getting
sometimes,
complaints.
even with the, coworkers, sometimes the way somebody would ask a question doesn't necessarily come out the way that I would ask it, so maybe he just worded it wrong, or it came across wrong, I don't know, I can't speak on his behalf. Sometimes there's the way she approaches something is gonna be different the way that I approach something. So maybe it's just, he worded it incorrectly, or just you took, I don't know, I can't.
It's worded pretty bad.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna speak on behalf of it.
Have you reviewed that at all?
I saw the
Deputy
report.
Smith stuff? Yeah, because, the specific things that he was after, and again, how he was after, is that, I think I mentioned to you, when I gave him the power of attorney for my mother, it was very easy for me to pick up the fact that, he's standing there, has the cell phone out, and again, the badge wasn't on display, and I couldn't see where he was parked, like, I couldn't even see the cruiser that he was in, it's just a guy.
That's because we don't park in front of houses.
And
safety
And
reasons.
that makes sense,
Yeah.
I learned that afterwards, and so like I get a knock on the door, somebody looking for Eileen, can't tell me why, but he's looking for Eileen, doesn't have a badge, and the cell phone is just hanging out. And it's just like, you know, and when I send him away, Eileen's not here, I immediately called 911. And I said, hey, is this legit? Like, is this an actual person, or is it just one of Howard's goons?
Right.
Because history,
Right.
I guess I'll say that. And so I was legitimately in question whether or not the guy with the gun that came to my door was legit.
And that's
So-
fine,
And so when I spoke with the 911 operator, they said, yes, he was dispatched, you know, and then he came back. And then that's when I had the whole, you know, situation where he peeled around the corner, like he was gonna get in a shootout with me. You know, and so just setting things, because I do carry inside the house when I'm there. Because again, I am afraid of what Howie's gonna do. And so when he came back and he saw the gun, you know, he just assumed that I was a threat. And like, there's no reason to assume that I'm a threat in the curtilage of my own home, legally armed, you know, when you're hiding behind the corner of the house.
Well, that's what,
You know-
that is what we're trained, officer safety, there's a lot of, we go to houses all day long, we don't know anybody, we don't know their mindset, and normally when we come there, we're not getting invited, or we're going to a call, which is not because we're invited to go eat the pasta dinner with the family, you know, enjoy a good movie, it's because there's some type of conflict somewhere. So we never know what state of mind someone's in. At the end of the day, we all wanna go home, you know,
I
like
understand.
anybody else, so those are officer safety things that we do for training. It's in case, not saying you are, I don't know you, you know, no, this is the first time I'm talking to you. We don't know when we come up to someone's house, but yes, they're in their own home. Yes, they're allowed to have a gun in their own home. Yes. But is there situations, and there's every day if you look on the YouTube videos, there's cops being shot at. So those are situations we take, that it's training techniques that if you go to grab that gun real quick, he's already has a little bit of cover that he can just move a little bit and take cover and do what he needs to do. It's officer safety to stand right in front of you, you know, like we're in an interview, you came here to talk to us, that's different. Us to stand in front of you and be close where we don't know someone's mindset. Could they be talking to us fine one minute and all of a sudden trigger the next minute, all of a sudden coming at us, trying to kill us? Things like that do happen. I've been doing this many years, she's been doing this longer. I've been having normal conversations where the person's talking, all of a sudden something triggers and they
They just
just,
flip.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
you know, could it be a mental disease or, you know, something like that? Yes, but we don't know, but we wanted to take the precaution to be able to, that's why going around the corner, not parking in front of someone's house, keeping a distance. When you said the fighting stance, that is a common trained stance, because when I'm sitting there talking to you, if I'm always in this if I'm just standing straight and you go to push me, I'm gonna fall over. So we always stay in that fighting stance, because if I'm in that stance and you just came at me, I have a little more balance. Those are things we always do. So some of the things that you're explaining he did, it's kind of glad he did officer safety, you know, protecting, because those are ways that prevent an altercation from going worse. Because what if it got worse and the other person had to get hurt? You know, the officer doesn't want to hurt the other person, if he can back off and let things calm down sometimes, and that's what we want to do. But that's all officer safety techniques of just being aware. He don't know you, first time he met you, what if he didn't know, what if you want to grab the gun, you know, not saying you would, but he don't know that.
Yeah, because the knee-jerk reaction from my point of view was just like, it was, his mind was already made up of what he was there to do and what he came to do, and how he approached me, you know, was just off from the very beginning.
And you're already upset by him coming there already, and
Not
the whole
not necessarily
situation
upset.
going on with the family, and is this less stress you need, so when you go there and you find out why he's there, and it just bothers you, and he's seeing a gun, so you're seeing two different perspectives, and you're just both taking alert, being on guard. That's basically what you both did, so.
The fact that he was there at all got my antennas up.
Yes,
you
so
know,
you went on
and-
guard. You went on alert to why are you here, and you start questioning it and stuff, and.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. It's like, you know, because I know that that you had reached out and, you know, to him to get a little bit of an explanation of, Howard had conferred with several people here,
Mm.
right? And I really would like to get some information on that. And I don't know if that has to be like an
I have
internal
no idea,
thing,
I have no idea who he spoke with.
because again, like the way that you have this written up, it's like Howard had conferred with one deputy, and the deputy said, yeah, Howard, I don't know what you all just said, but you need to do it in civil court. And then and he reached out to somebody else and said, and somebody else, I think, was Officer Smith, and Officer Smith says, Howard, this sounds funny, you need to contact a lawyer, this is not a law enforcement thing, you can't, I can't do anything for you, it sounds like it's civil, it's not a criminal thing. And so again, for the cop to know that, acknowledge that, it's on paper, and then still come to the house to shake me down for documents,
And that's just being thorough, that's actually, instead of just handling a phone call, he's following both ends, like, there's always, I always say there's three sides to a story. There's your side, his side, and somewhere in the middle is that related, non-biased, like that, don't know any side, that, and that's us. We don't know anybody going into this, I don't know who Howard is, and like what she said, badge or no badge, I'm gonna treat everybody to how the case needs to be treated. I'm not gonna treat any different because you have a badge, we're still human, we still have to follow the law.
And
So he was being thorough, which I think he did a good job of that. I'm glad to hear he took officer safety techniques, because that down the road may save him from something else. But he's being thorough, he wants to check the will, because I don't know if Howard said something, what the exact conversation was, but he sees the will, he sees that, okay, now it's civil.
yeah, I'm curious, because he did say, Howard, it sounds like it's a civil, I really
And
want
it
to
could have
get
been,
involved
it's civil,
with this.
let me go check, see, okay, the will, yeah, it's civil, there's nothing, like, that's.
And-
And if you
But
push
still-
the issue
he still
enough,
did.
they're gonna send a deputy, say, hey, just go talk to you, go find out what is the problem. Like, you have this person over here saying all this stuff, and then now you have an elderly woman that it's like, okay, well, we need to go check on her just to make sure she's okay, and obviously find out from you what's going on, because you're getting a one-sided story. So,
Yeah.
you know, we would
having
not
an
be doing our
investigation.
job if we did not go out to the house to check on her. Because what if there was something going on? What if, you know, your sister or you were there, you were taking advantage of her, we didn't do our job, and now we didn't protect her? So
Yeah.
we come out, find out from you what's going on, just the same thing, it's like, yeah, there's nothing there, so we're done. And
Yeah.
that was the end result of it.
Yeah, but again, the issue would have been that if my mom was there and it wasn't me, she would have been shitting her pants and saying, oh my God, I don't wanna go to jail, I don't wanna be a criminal, I'm scared as hell, here's grandma's will. And knowing the whole Howie thing, and, you know, the deputy stuff and all that stuff, it doesn't pass the smell test on our end. And so again, that's not, as far as I know, that's not the scope of what deputies do, is they don't take legal documents and interpret them to determine whether or not crimes occur, whether or not
We do that, we do court records, we have child custody cases, we have child support things.
We get elderly exploitation, I look at all the documents.
Exploitation.
Doesn't mean I'm gonna take copies of it, but I'll look at it and be like, okay, so I'll put a will exists and that's it, I don't
Divorce
necessarily.
cases.
Yeah.
And so that was saying, that coupled with the whole scanning of the self, I sort of mentioned before with, when I handed him the power of attorney, I could see where he's looking at it, and he's doing this, and he's scanning, and then he flips the page, right, and then he comes down low, and he's doing this, right in front of the little, you know, the adjusting camera lenses that I see going, and he does this, he flips the page, and he does this, and he just scanning, like, that's kind of obvious to me, and so like, I see what he's doing right off the bat with the power of attorney stuff, and he sits there for 30 minutes trying to get me to fork over the documents
There
that I
was
know.
no power of attorney attached to that report. The only thing that's attached to this report
Yeah,
is statement forms.
yeah,
That's it.
because he came specifically looking to talk to Eileen.
Right.
And
Like
that's,
what I'm telling you is you say that he was scanning all this stuff. If he did that, it should have been attached to the report and
should have been, yeah.
And there's nothing in
But
there.
again, when Howie dispatched Mr. Smith to
Mm-hmm.
come to the door, that was the other, you know, hey, whatever documents you get, go ahead and scan them and relay them back to me.
So you think the deputy provided those documents to him?
Of course, yeah, and, you know, he took the little thing that I did give him, which was the power of attorney, that was the only thing for the 911 operator to say, to send him back. In fact, I requested specifically, cause I asked, hey, is this guy legit? And he said, yes, he's there, to speak with my mother. And I said, okay, I'm her power of attorney, I can speak with her, send him back and I will provide him the power of attorney. And so that's the only reason why he even came back and even spoke with me. So he did come back, like the half hour later or whatever, and the first thing he did, he scanned in the power of attorney, and then that's when he was digging for the trust and the will and stuff on Howard's behalf. Like doing the professional courtesy, and again, that's where it becomes the county abusing the county resources and all that kind of stuff. That's when it starts looking real bad, because again, when you read, if you read this, and actually go word by word, sentence by sentence, he's after one thing, right?
So you're just assuming that they're friends and he obtained these documents and gave them to Howard?
There was obviously communication between the two, and obviously communication between Howard and some other person here, and obviously communication from cops in Pinellas County saying the exact same thing, per your notes. So other than that, you provide me the best, most clear explanation of what is actually happening thus far. So yeah, I mean, there was definitely, conspiracy is the closest word that I have for it. But yes, there was absolutely mismanagement of county resources that passes the smell test.
That's what you feel there is. There's no facts or nothing, that's.
Of course, and that's why the internal process, the internal review, and that's partially why I'm asking the question. What exactly happened with Mr. Smith? How involved? What exactly did he know? How did he know? Because again, this got generated in the public's parking lot. It didn't come from a 911 call. And so like nothing quite.
Well, it doesn't have to come in from a 911 call. I'd go to a parking lot and call a non-emergency line if it's not an emergency, and have a deputy meet me in a parking lot. There's nothing wrong with that.
So if it came in a non-emergency line, it just came through a dispatch call, it just didn't come through the 911, a 911 call like this.
That would not be a 911 call situation. 911 call is like life threat.
Yeah.
And it could have been, hey, you have send a phone call, and Howard could have requested a call from a deputy working in the area, and Deputy Smith was just the deputy working at that time, and called him back. So could Howard have been on the phone like, hey, this situation I got, he's telling his side of the story, and Deputy Smith did the right thing, got out there, he went and looked at it, and he determined
well,
this is.
Deputy Smith told Howie that this isn't something I can do.
And that's why he went out there and he determined this is going to be civil.
Yeah, but even though the knee-jerk, the smell test, he said, Howie, I can't do this. Knowing that it's wrong, knowing that it's not something that he should be doing, and yet he went and did it anyway.
Going out to your house?
Going out to my, and
Well, that's something we would still do, civil or not, we would still go do that. So he's probably telling Howie, if he is, it sounds like he's telling him, this is not criminal, there's nothing I can do, I can't enforce anything criminal here, it is civil, and you explain in civil court, but going to your house, he still did the right thing by a follow-up just to make sure, making sure that she's okay, making sure everybody's okay, and is confirming that there's nothing criminal.
Yeah.
Because it's like someone calling us up saying, so-and-so just argued with me and saying crime or saying there's a battery going on. Well, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go out to the other house and check it. So
that's a binary thing to determine whether or not somebody battered another person.
But it's still the same thing. Whether it's a civil thing, whether it's someone talking about there's a criminal violation going on with the will or power of attorney or exploitation or a battery or a verbal, we're always gonna follow up and check both parties to make sure everything's okay. And if anything's brought up where it could possibly, is there exploitation, he went out there to check to make sure she is okay. And that's talking to you, your power of attorney, he confirmed all that, so.
Well, I mean, but just so that we're clear, he wasn't there for anybody's well-being. It wasn't for anybody's welfare.
Well, he doesn't have to say that, but he could have went there to make sure. I've done that before when you're following up on a civil case and, you're talking to you confirm, okay, no, there's no issues here.
Did you scan that, the transcript?
If that's what you gave me, I can make copies of it.
I'm not sure if I gave that to you. And that's just.
This is a transcript of what?
Just generated from YouTube, the interaction with Deputy Smith.
From YouTube?
Yeah, like
Oh,
the
this
word,
what,
the
this
automatic.
is what you were recording, that's your train,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, just
yeah,
make sure I didn't know where it came from.
Yeah.
And so,
No, you
and so,
didn't
yeah,
copy that.
But
when you
that,
actually
it doesn't
read those-
show, it doesn't show what,
What he was
who
after.
he talked, no, it doesn't show who he talked to before. Did he, how he called the sheriff's office, non-emergency line, request a phone call, deputy calls him back, he's explaining whatever he explained on the phone, power of attorney, or he's explaining exploitation of what, he could say whatever he wants. The deputy went and did their due diligence following up with you, that's why they're at the house, they're doing their due diligence following up with you. They determined it was civil at that point, and there's nothing, so that's why Deputy Smith is out there determining it's civil.
Well, he was there to get the will. And
Huh?
he was there to get the will and the trust because there was an information vacuum from Howard.
For what was he, why, what do you mean, why do you think he was there to get the will?
Just a professional courtcy from Howard, because
But
Howard,
that's an assumption.
Howard was excluded.
But that's an assumption that you feel, it's
Yeah,
not, there's no, is it assumption that you think he was there just to get the will because Howard's law enforcement and he did it because he's law enforcement? That's an assumption.
It's an inside track.
Or-
It's, you know,
but that's your- that's-
civilians don't have the ability to do what he did,
But that's your assumption.
but that's what happened.
He came to your house to look at the will and everything,
That's
and your
exactly
assumption
what
is
he-
that because he's doing it inside for Howard,
Yeah.
other explanation is he's doing his job, coming out to the house, make sure there's nothing criminal going on and everything is okay, and he deemed it civil. Your assumption is, your
Wouldn't there
assumption
be
is,
other questions and other things looking into other than just exactly what you're saying? I'm here for you to show me the will and the trust, just for me to determine whether or not
and that's
something's
what,
right or so.
sometimes people, the way people say things, sometimes tone and everything is different, but is he there to look at the will and trust to determine your power of attorney, to determine this is all civil and there's nothing Howard could do and he's telling him that?
If I called 911 or anybody, the non-emergency number, and if I said, I suspect my sister, who lives with my mom, I suspect her of doing funny business with grandma's accounts. I don't think an officer will show up.
Yes, I will. I will, because you have to determine the investigation. I can tell you our deputies are trained to follow up both ends.
Yeah.
And I
It
know
definitely
a
sounds like
deputy,
a
I know,
civil thing.
it's civil or not, we have to determine that, and we just can't determine that by listening to one person on the phone.
Yeah,
Just
but-
by one person calling and saying, I feel this, we can't say civil or not. We're gonna go out there, power of attorney, that makes it civil, so yes, the deputy's gonna follow up on both ends. If we get a phone call that's something funny business going on with accounts, we're gonna follow up on both ends, we're gonna go out to the house, we're gonna see who's living there, and if it's something that a detective needs to look at, we can forward it over to a detective.
The allegations that he was making, even initially, just to generate this initial report, it was just lies. I mean,
But
it
Howard
was
was
just straight
But Howard
fabrication.
was,
Yeah,
who was saying the lies? Howard?
Howard.
He was telling Deputy Smith lies?
Howard advises that Eileen had removed money from Harriet's account, giving it to her kids in the sum of $15,000, which Harriet was not aware of. And that's not true. That's
And
a lie.
nothing
Right.
went anywhere because there's no documents, there's no financial records, there's nothing to prove that any of this,
But
what
there
he's
is-
saying is.
But there is, because through this process, right, through the process of the civil law, the Parks and Lynn's subpoenaed all of my bank accounts,
Mhm.
right? And so they gained access to my bank accounts despite me saying I don't want to. Howard should have nothing to do with any bank account that my name is on, or
Mhm.
any sort of trust account that I'm trying to administer through this entire process that I'm going through. They have no business knowing any of that, right? And so the fact that there was subpoenas sent and subpoenas issued, and now Howard now has my financial information and is doing whatever he wants with it, it in and of itself is out of bounds.
Well, who did the subpoena for that and gave it to Howard?
Were the subpoenas generated by his attorney?
Through the
Yes.
lawyer
Okay,
process.
that's a lawful means of them obtaining your records though. There's nothing criminal. It's just like me, like if I have an investigation, I want something of hers, I have to get a subpoena, state attorney's office has to approve it, and then we can lawfully get a hold of those records. Right or wrong,
And
You-
if they gave it to
it's,
Howard, then
it's
that's
the
on
law.
them.
That's how it works. I mean, right or wrong, you don't like it, that's just how it is, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Just like
so-
divorce court. If I don't wanna turn over my financials, oh, you better believe that they're gonna get a hold of your financials.
But the court though, not
Right.
not the lawyers. Okay, 'cause
Now,
as
a
of
lawyer,
right now, the
I
lawyers are
believe
just-
lawyers can issue subpoenas as well,
They can.
yes. So, they had to have gotten a subpoena through the courts or some type of document, so what they subpoena us to court all the time.
They can go through the courts and get subpoenas themselves.
A judge can order somebody to turn over.
It all goes through the courts, when you
Yeah.
draft the subpoena, it all goes through the courts as you go through.
And there was never any order for any subpoena.
But if they have but
The
what I'm
subpoena is
saying,
the order, if there is a subpoena,
that is a
Signed
court,
it.
that's a
Well,
court
yeah,
order.
like no order like from the judge or anything.
Right.
Like, it didn't come from the court itself.
But it could have come
It's-
from the law firm, they could have gotten one.
Yeah, and that's pretty concerning, you know, to me, because again, he's getting what he wants, even though he's obviously he's a criminal, right? He's getting what he wants because
He didn't get what he
civil
wanted from us, so.
So, and so, yeah, so when it comes to the Deputy Smith thing, like, I don't wanna get him in trouble, it's just.
well, that's an assumption that you feel why he came there, but I'm also telling you that it is common practice that we're gonna go check both sides, and yes, if regular, Howard's a citizen, whether, huh?
He has extrajudicial capacity.
In his county that he works in,
Yeah.
but still,
But he
he's still.
badges right through.
No,
the gate.
Whatever happened with that, that's gonna be a
Needs to be
different situation.
investigated, right,
And,
right, that's,
but him calling us, we're not just gonna go out there just because he's law enforcement. We're gonna go out there, if he called just as a normal citizen, or anyone else called, or if you called, and if you were Howard and you called with that complaint, we're still gonna go follow both sides. The deputy was doing his due diligence, following up with both sides, and the only way to check and determine if there's crime or what's civil and what's not is looking at a power of attorney and looking at that.
is looking at, and again, that is what I think I have a little bit of an issue with, is, you know, determining, you know.
Well, he determined that there was no crime at that point, and it was civil.
Yeah,
So he did his due diligence, he
At-
followed up, that's it.
At the end of the
Right.
report that he wrote, you know, he recommended, he didn't determine, he seems as though there's nothing criminal and it seems like it's civil, and it was a little bit open-ended, you know, so he didn't.
He recommended going to the courts, going through the civil process, that's how,
But again, he recommended that before showing up. And
well,
that's,
he's probably
and
giving
that's what-
advice that this sounds civil,
Yeah.
I
From what
recommend this
little
while they're still
information he
talking on the
had.
phone, but he's still
Yeah.
gonna go back there and he still did his due diligence follow up to confirm, yes. He called, I'm giving you a recommendation, this is what it sounds like, I'll go confirm, but if nothing else changes and it's still civil, this is your recommendation.
Because he definitely went fishing for the right person to come and do that.
Well, he's
The
looking for
right person here, you know, despite being told,
well, we don't,
you
it
know.
could have just been a random call on Cat, we don't know if he called him directly. Cause it sounds like from when you look at it, they called dispatch and asked for a phone call. I couldn't tell you if Deputy Smith knows Howard. Again, that's another assumption that, we could look into.
If you could, yeah, I definitely would like some, and again, it's not because I'm gonna make a YouTube video out of it, it's just for my own personal understanding how that situation happened, because again, that.
Well, I'm explaining that you told me that we wouldn't do that for any other citizen. I'm telling you that is practice, that we would do that.
Specifically going to
The house, yes.
get only the trust and the will.
How, well,
That's
if
what he was after.
But if he's saying that you're not on a trust, but the trust and the will is gonna make it civil. You're on that trust and you're on that will, that's gonna make it civil, so that's how he's able to determine. So yeah, that's doing a complete and thorough investigation on the deputies and to look at that trust and will, because if he says, oh, it's criminal, he's not on the trust, he's not on a will, and the deputy didn't go look at it, they didn't fulfill their duties as doing their full investigation. The deputy went out there, they looked at it, they confirmed, you're on the trust, the will, there's nothing that the deputy at this point can do, you're gonna have to go through civil courts, and that's what that deputy did.
Yeah.
You're still under the assumption that the deputy went out there, and you're still under this assumption, but I'm telling you, that's your opinion and assumption.
He was pretty persistent after one thing and one thing only, though.
But that's what he needs. What else would he need? The trust and the will is gonna show that you're on it in civil. What else would he need to look at?
Yeah, that's,
The trust and the will, right? So that's why he's asking, he's trying to confirm. I
mean, you may not like it, but that's what it comes down to, is he went out there, he asked you for documents that you don't wanna make public, which is fine, I understand that. But he's looking at them, and then he goes back to Howard and says, hey, this is all civil, you have no leg to stand on.
yeah, and again, he said that before he showed up. And
it's
again,
civil, but
it
that's
didn't
because
pass his smell test, yet he still went and,
But so he's still followed up, but he's probably telling this sounds civil, if this is civil, the process you're going to. Do we know for sure everything that was said before he showed up? Do you have transcripts of what he said before he showed up to your house? Cause you're saying he
Of
told
course-
Howard
of
this,
course
but
not.
do you have the, what,
yeah.
are you just saying he said that, or do you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
he
'cause
said that?
it's just the smell test.
So you're just assuming he said that to Howard before he showed up?
There was something that was said, yes. I mean, there was some sort of conferring and fishing for the right person to get, to
Cause all we
go
can
to
go
the
off
house.
of the facts, you have assumptions, but
Right.
you don't have the
Well,
full facts, because no one.
the motivating factors for that cop showing up and asking what he asked, specifically going after what he
But
went
you
after.
feel it's just to help Howard because he is law enforcement?
It just, well, law enforcement aside, just the professional courtesy, yeah.
Yeah, he's,
Of doing something very specific, he's making the allegation, I'm sure he's filling Deputy Smith's ear and the other person's ear with what he thinks is what's happening, you know, my shithead sister stole $3 million worth of stuff,
Mhm.
you need to go and get me the will for me. And just let me see what
Well,
it says.
that's what you're assuming he's saying.
Well, that's-
No, that's your assuming, you're assuming he said that. But from an investigation side, what our deputies, the protocol to do is investigate both sides. So he's filling his ear full of all this stuff. Deputy Smith says, this sounds civil, I'll go confirm and look. He goes confirm and look, yes, it's civil. He's not confirming to look, and it's an assumption of, is he confirming to look to give to Howard, he's confirming to look to determine if it's civil or not. Because if he looks at the will and Howard's on the will, he's gonna say, you're on the will too, so you're entitled to something or whatever, or he's not on the will, so now there's a legal issue. But he's confirming that will, but I understand how you feel it's your opinion that he's doing it for Howard, and I think being open-minded and seeing both sides, you just have your one side that you see that it's just for Howard to help the law enforcement, where I know our investigation, and I'm glad to see our deputies actually going to the house and doing the second part of the follow-up on the investigation, because that's what we're supposed to do, investigate both sides. He's listening to all this stuff, you need to go, if he says he needs to give it to me, I don't need to give you nothing, but I need to go confirm for my investigation that there's nothing criminal. So he's confirming for himself.
Yeah, because he was essentially like investigating like a coercion case, you know, whether or not, you know, mom was abusing grandma. And the way he was going to go about determining that was by seeing legal documents.
And yeah, what if, say, because I know you're doing a lot of what ifs and assumptions and stuff, but let's assume Deputy Smith gets a phone call, you need to go out to his house, this and that. No, that just sounds simple, you're gonna have to go to court, there's nothing we could do. And it's a phone call right there, never showed up to your house. What if that person at the house is with your mother? I'm not saying you, I'm just doing an example. He never goes out to the house to check. That person at the house, we'll just say you for example wise, you're not on the will, you're not on the power of attorney, and you're abusing her, and you're exploiting her, and he never went out to check. Something a week or two later comes out, and a different investigation comes out, and we find out that there was abuse and other things going on.
But that's
And-
more of a welfare check.
But
territory.
it all goes together.
Not document review.
But it's,
because-
okay,
because
so
he
take
was after
away the abuse
document
part,
review.
take away the abuse part. Howard's filling his ear full of stuff, there's exploitation going on, you need to see the will, you need to confirm, oh no, it sounds civil, nothing. A couple weeks later, you continue exploitation, something else happens, it brings this back up, where if he would've went out, he would've been able to confirm that you weren't on the will and you were exploiting her, so he's doing both ends. I'm glad to see him go on both ends, because our main priority is prevent crimes, people's safety and everything. He's out there, he's making sure, safety factor, her, she's safe, he's confirming, yes, you're on the will, your power of attorney, and everything's good here, now it's civil. If he didn't go out and he missed something and he didn't complete an investigation, he's gonna get in trouble for that, so he's doing that because we are trained to do a full investigation.
I believe I'm assuming that some of the issue that we're having here is just because of
And I know
the
Deputy, I know
the
Deputy.
wording that he used.
Well, I know Deputy Smith too, and he's a very stern man, and I know he's a very strict, straightforward and blunt man, and
Professionally, I have no problem
could
with
be,
it.
could be
Yeah.
some of the wording he used, word choice, yeah, could be different, could, some of the wording maybe trigger something, oh, well, you're doing this for Tricia Howard. Again, his opinion, it could be how you misinterpreted something, you could say something to her and you could say something to me, and we can interpret it two different ways sometimes.
So just to be clear, I don't wanna get him in any sort of, I don't want more of a magnifying glass to come down on him and
I'll
this
just try to
entire
ease your mind
situation.
So there needs to be a point that if you're not wanting to make complaints, then you just need, I'm not saying to accept it, but like you just need to move on and deal with what's at hand, which is the civil litigation.
And,
you know.
well, I mean, what's at hand is the crimes that Howard committed,
Right,
right,
and then you
that's
dropped
the
all
point.
this stuff
That's
off,
the point of
and I will,
this.
yeah, and I'll review it, and like I said, if, you know, there's really no financial records to show that he took money from her or exploited her, is that correct?
He took all the steps to actually do that, yes.
Okay, but your mom went with him to go do these things at the bank,
Completely bonkers,
okay.
completely senile.
Was there,
Obvious to the people around her.
okay, but was, at that time though, was anybody else living with your mom?
My mom, my mother,
Okay, so we're talking about grandma,
yeah.
okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so he was taking grandma to go change stuff,
Oh, yeah, he coming in and extracting grandma, taking
To
her
the-
to
okay.
Bank of America,
So
taking her to
then-
Bound. Yeah.
grandma passes though, and now your mom's in charge of everything.
She always was, she had been in charge of the financial
finances.
stuff, but we're talking about like a month or two prior to her hitting the switch, where she,
Okay.
the mental
Okay.
degradation, you know, it was when we were going through the process to put her in the temporary, assisted living facility, cause mom had to go for a procedure.
Okay,
And so we had to temporarily move her in because she couldn't be by herself, she
we're
can't.
talking about grandma,
We're talking about grandma.
okay,
She couldn't be by herself, and so she needed more than what the, like the senior helpers could provide,
okay,
because she was that far out there. So we had to temporarily house her, and then in that process of moving in, which was that one medical document that I had just scanned in, it was, I'm pretty sure it was that one where she just had she just snapped, and she was just,
That was your mom.
that was that was grandma.
grandma.
Yeah.
That document goes with grandma, okay.
And so that was, you know, that was the point where, everybody's out to kill me, you know, and she would go and she would just start doing this wacky stuff,
Mhm.
and that's where the delusional aspect of things got magnified,
Okay,
you know, after that point.
do you, and because I know the state attorneys is gonna ask, do you have documents showing, other than that form that you gave me, that, like, anything from a doctor, that she was deemed incompetent or, you know, out of her mind?
Yeah, so like Dr. Jude was very well aware of her status, you know, and of her.
But did she ever have like a test, a cognitive test where they put in writing that she failed the test, she's incompetent or unable to care for herself? Are you aware of any documentation like that existing?
I'm trying to think.
I mean, because it's just been an evaluation done by the doctor, meeting with her at regular doctor's appointments, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because Dr. Jude was very familiar with, I mean, I think he's been treating grandma for like 15,
Yeah.
20 years or something like that. So he was pretty,
He would notice the changes.
acutely and keenly, and I'm pretty sure he takes good notes too. And
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that he, you know, pretty accurate with his note taking. Whether or not there was like a cognitive test, like an official cognitive
Right.
test to determine, like, I don't know if she really got put under the magnifying glass at that point.
Right,
You know,
right, right.
because it was essentially, we were just trying to house grandma, and that's when she snapped, and then a month or two later she died.
Okay.
So there wasn't like I don't remember any sort of procedure or anything where she had to go to get that cognitive determination,
Okay.
but
And then your mom was never, I mean, she was always pretty well with it, she was just afraid of Howard.
yeah,
I mean, cause I'm assuming she lived on her own, so she was able to take care of herself or
Yeah.
limited care.
Yeah, and again, the exception there was just the month or two prior to her passing. You know, because of all the stress of everything that was going on.
No, I understand that.
Up to and including grandma's death, but it started with the Howard stuff. When Howard started bursting through the house, saying that Eileen, you're going to jail. That's when she had a fucking heart attack. You know, and again, that directly, in my opinion, opinion time, that directly induced the heart attacks and then the strokes and, blood clots
Yeah.
going up to the brain and so there was a confluence there, but that was my mom's, cause again, there's kind of two different things going on. But yeah, if you reach out to Dr. Jude, he'll be able to tell you, whether or not the exact timeline matches up. I'm very curious to see what he says, but she was very obviously compromised, and Howard very obviously saw that and understood that, because again, when she had the snap, she was making 4 a.m. phone calls to people.
Yeah.
And amongst those people, I suspect, I don't know, I didn't go through the call records, that she called Howard, and somehow started this correspondence with Howard, and again, he was excommunicated. He's self-separated off from the family a long time ago, and as soon as he realized that grandma was nuts, and he just pressed the gas. He realized that she was vulnerable, and he just did his thing, which again is par for the course. And I don't know if I should provide to you guys the conversation that I spoke of before when me, mom, and grandma were conferring about the what the plan was for the legal paperwork, the changes that were made. Again, that was way early in early 2020, I believe. Grandpa was still alive. He died April 1st, 2020. So this would have been pre-April 1st, 2020. Because Grandpa, you can hear Grandpa coughing in the background. Exactly what the intents were and exactly what the changes Grandma wanted to make. So yeah, I mean, it's this situation is just so frustrating.
No, I understand you. I get it. I just don't know, how far we're gonna be able to take anything, because the two people that we would need the most, are either incompetent for, not necessarily your mom, but your grandmother, most likely, if she were still alive, is incompetent, because she can't remember things. And then with your mom's passing, those are two witnesses, potential victims / witnesses that we have lost. You understand what I'm saying? To try to get some information from
Just
them.
trying to gather facts and be able to
Yeah.
get facts to prove.
So, and I know that typically, that's how our state attorney's office looks at it. But that's why I'm telling you, I'm still gonna look at everything, we'll look into it, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, or promise you what the outcome is gonna be.
That's completely, yeah,
I
that's completely
can't.
understandable, yeah.
I can't, I just can't.
Yeah.
I always explain to people, and unfortunately, we have to give a lot of bad news. We have to explain stuff to people that they don't wanna hear. And there's many times over the years doing this that what we know and what we can prove are two different things. If I can arrest people off of what we know,
You have a lot more
then there
people
would
in
be a lot
jail.
more people in
Yeah.
jail.
Sure.
But the thing is, we have to be able to prove it in court, and if it went all the way to trial, in front of a jury. And those are facts and proving and everything else. So that's why I was explaining the difference with deputy and stuff, what we know and what we can prove and different things, we have to have facts and be able to prove it. So
I understand, because
that's what the investigation does. The investigation gathers all the facts that we can, put it together, and that's what she'll present to the state and all that, so.
Well, I again,
This is the best I can do for you at this point.
commend both of you for doing this. because, it is appreciated, because there's,
I know you're frustrated,
what else
I
am I supposed to
understand,
do here?
I
in this
understand your
situation?
frustration, I really do.
And, so I guess moving forward would be to make the formal complaints then. I mean, could, again, like, I don't want to, but it's just like, do I go make the formal complaints and go after what I'm seeking, or do I take all this to make a public service? And it's just, both options seem bad to me,
Mhm.
so, yeah, I guess.
That's left in your hand,
You
I
can do
mean,
what you want, with that, like I said, we can't,
Just,
we don't tell anybody what to do with that.
I guess.
She has the investigation to see what the state's gonna do, and that's what we're gonna be moving forward with on our end.
I would just appreciate any sort of advice or any sort of advisory, just moving forward, because again, I'm here to minimize the drama.
so I understand, but a lot of the things you're asking her to do to try to minimize the civil stuff, and that's not something that we're gonna be able to do.
It's separate.
That's 100% separate, and unfortunately, you just got somebody that wants to drag you through court, and you're just gonna have to deal with that. There's absolutely nothing that we can do to help you with that, I mean, you're doing what you can as far as trying to find an attorney, and you just gotta keep searching and chugging forward, because it's gonna move forward with or without you, and if it moves forward without you, that may not turn out in your benefit, that's the only thing I can tell you. And again, if you feel that there was any wrongdoing by Deputy Smith or Howard, then you wanna file complaints against them, I mean, that's your right. If you wanna stop by the front desk and file a complaint with against Deputy Smith, those are decisions that you have to make. I'm not, that's
I
for
was
you to
actually,
decide.
I was actually hoping to get some input from you guys, just to, because I'm not I still have my doubts of exactly, because again, like when you were asking me, do I have proof of what they were saying and what they were talking about? Well, of course not. But when you provide all the evidence put on the paper, you can see exactly what happened, and it's just,
At your
it's clear
house,
as day.
when Deputy Smith, from what you're telling me, you see what you're seeing because of, you're dealing with stuff that you shouldn't be dealing with, you're lost family members, you're dealing with the loss of them, you shouldn't be dealing with this, but from perspective of a deputy doing their job and what our protocols are, I see a deputy that got a phone call that Howard called the sheriff's office, requested a deputy, and that's, I can check that, and if that doesn't check out, then I can look into it different, but if Howard just called the non-emergency line, and like you said, the call's gonna come in at Publix, show me at Publix or whatever, that's the call, it's a phone call, so we're gonna log us in where we're handling the phone call, that's what it should be, because if someone approaches my car while I'm handling the phone call and I start screaming for help, I'm logged into where I'm located at, so a deputy can come save me. But I see a deputy that did his due diligence and followed up on both ends, that he covered what one person was saying, and he checked it out to make sure there's nothing else going on, and he deemed it civil, so. And at that point, it was civil, there was nothing, the deputy didn't do nothing to favor Howard or nothing like that, because it was a civil situation that he couldn't do nothing with anyways, but I see that he was thorough in that, and he followed up with both ends. How he may have portrayed in his tone, and how things may have been,
Requested to
Or
be done.
how it was
Yeah, how he
requested or
spoke or whatever.
that could have, because of everything else going on, you're already in the mindset of leaning towards, we're gonna favor Howard anyway, so you just start gearing that way. But I know Deputy Smith, and he's been here a very long time, he's not a biased deputy, he's gonna go by the book, he's a field training deputy and everything, and he's very by the book, so if someone's saying something, he's gonna make sure nothing else is going on at the other end and there's no crime. Because we get it all the time too, we get people calling and trying to just feed us full of crap. And at the end of the day, what they're saying is they're the ones committing the crimes, and we gotta go check to make sure someone's safe, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
I mean, that's exactly what happened in this case,
Yeah.
Howard's
confirmed it.
accusing,
And
Palm
he
of
did,
stealing money and
and he
he's
confirmed it,
lying,
and he
And the
does
truth
know.
may come out in the civil hearing, and maybe the whole thing will go away. I mean, how many court dates have you had with all that? A lot?
Last time I checked, there was 80 line items on the docket,
Okay.
so
When's your next hearing?
I have to find new representation by, I think it was like mid-April.
Okay.
And then, you know, we had mediation scheduled, and, you know, my sister and everybody was on the same page, we're gonna do mediation. You know, try to find so some of this information can get flushed out and actually provided to the other side. It's like, hey, here's grandma in her own words at this specific time, you know, and yet, you know, in the meantime, Mr. Lentz is driving around a brand new Audi with the money that I shelled over to him, and all they're doing is playing badminton and then lying about doing the whole will, you know, with the Buck Law Firm and saying the Buck Law Firm's lying or being difficult with providing the original will, and I pick up the phone one time
And that's a whole different stress that you go through, and unfortunately, we can't do nothing about that end.
Yeah.
Yeah, just work on getting another attorney so you can move forward and try to get it resolved,
Yeah.
and that'll be one less stressor out of your life.
Easier said than done.
Oh.
No, I know, no, listen, I know it's not easy, but, I mean, it's just something you gotta do, so you just, I hate to say suck it up, but just
Yeah.
find somebody and move forward and get it over with, and, you know, hopefully it's not gonna be drug out too much longer for you and your family, and it'll just be done, you know? Okay?
Alright, well,
We'll work on this investigation, and detective will keep you updated with everything.
okay. Alright, I guess I really appreciate it. I'll buy you guys a cup of coffee. You know,
We're good.
That's our job.
you let me know and I'll come running over.
You're dealing with the
Far
stress,
away?
get yourself a cup of coffee.